Okay, so yesterday we talked about square root and cube root in our notes, and we talked about how squaring a value is the inverse of taking the square root of a value, and how cubing a value is the inverse of a cube root. So they undo each other. On this side, we talked about squaring values and how it related to those square roots, and the same thing for cubing values and how it related to cube roots. Remember from yesterday, if you were using your calculator, remember for square root, you press second and x squared. Let's say you do 16. It's going to calculate that value for you for the square root. But for cube root, you need to press in that you're doing a 3 as a superscript first. So 3, and then it's going to be second and this exponent key, which is above x squared. And you see, when you do that properly, it's going to be smaller, okay? And so let's say you do the cube root of 27, and you get an output of 3. And we talked about that whenever you do the cube root, you're asking yourself what times itself 3 times is the value under that radical. Okay, so taking it a step further today, we're going to relate it to volume and area. So this says find the side length of a cube given its volume. So find the side length of a cube with a volume of 343 feet cubed. So our volume is 343 feet cubed. Whenever we're talking about a cube, length, width, and height are all equal to each other. So whenever we're talking about that side length, whenever we find the side length, it's just side times side times side, in other words, it's side cubed. The inverse operation of cubing a value is to do what? Is it square root or cube root? Cube root. So we would cube root that value. So we are going to take the cube root of 343. So the cube root of 343 will tell us what the side length, what one side length is. So find out what that cube root of 343 is. Remember, you press in the 3, second, exponent, put in 343. And we have 7 as our side length. For our units, we would use feet because it ended up being feet cubed. Okay, let's say we take this exact same cube and we ask, what is the area of one of the faces? Well, how do you find the area? In the face here, it has to be a square because all side lengths are equal to each other. So how do you find the area of a square? Yeah, multiply length times width. And we know that all the side lengths are equal to each other, so it's just side squared. And we know that the side is equal to 7, so 7 times 7 is 49.